Let's listen.
346,000 homes were damaged or destroyed. Nearly 7 million New Jerseyans were without power, some for up to 14 days. Nearly 600 state roads were closed, 127 shelters housed and fed over 7,000 evacuated citizens. All regional mass transit and Hudson River crossings were closed. All New Jersey schools were closed, some for weeks. Tens of thousands of businesses were damaged or destroyed, with many still closed. Our Jersey shore was devastated, with the loss of homes, public buildings, and iconic symbols of New Jersey culture and economic vitality destroyed. Tens of thousands of our citizens entered 2013 unsure of their future, as they spent the holiday season displaced from all that was familiar and comforting. 31 days for Andrew victims, 17 days for victims of Gustav and Ike, 10 days for victims of Katrina. For the victims of Sandy in New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut, it has been 66 days, and the wait continues. There's only one group to blame for the continued suffering of these innocent victims: the House majority and their Speaker, John Boehner. This is not a Republican or Democratic issue. National disasters happen in red states and blue states, in states with Democratic governors and Republican governors. We respond to innocent victims of natural disasters, not as Republicans or Democrats, but as Americans. Or at least we did until last night. Last night, politics was placed before our oaths to serve our citizens. For me, it was disappointing and disgusting to watch. On January 19th, 2010, I took an oath to serve all the people of Jersey, without regard to race or ethnicity, gender, or political affiliation. And for the last 1,079 days, I have worked as hard as I could to be loyal to that oath. Whether under the pressure of dealing with a legislature of the opposite party or the scrutiny of a hotly contested election, I have always put the people of New Jersey and my oath ahead of petty personal politics. Last night, the House of Representatives failed that most basic test of public service, and they did so with callous indifference to the suffering of the people of my state. If you want an example of how nonpartisan this issue should have been, I offer this for your consideration. Near midnight last night, conservative Congressman Chris Smith of New Jersey and former Speaker Nancy Pelosi of California both spoke on the floor in concert with each other and in support of this aid package. It's one for the record books, I suspect. On the equities, this should be a no-brainer for the House Republicans as well. Both New York and New Jersey used the international firm of McKinsey & Company to assess and quantify the damage to our states. Our professional staffs have spent countless hours with congressional staff providing leadership and backup documentation for all of the damage claims. Governor Cuomo and I have spent hours and hours speaking to individual members of the House and Senate to answer their questions. We worked with President Obama and his administration and satisfied them of the urgent need of this $60 billion aid package. This was good enough for 62 United States senators of both parties to vote for this package. This was good enough for a majority of the House of Representatives. It overcame all the factual challenges. It just could not overcome the toxic internal politics of the House majority. Finally, New Jersey and New York are perennially among the most generous states in the nation to our fellow states. We vote for disaster relief for other states in need. We are donor states, sending much more to Washington, D.C. than we ever get back in federal spending. Despite this history of unbridled generosity, in our hour of desperate need, we have been left waiting for help 6 times longer than the victims of Katrina, with no end in sight. Americans are tired of the palace intrigue and political partisanship of this Congress, which places one-upsmanship ahead of the lives of the citizens who sent these people to Washington, D.C. in the first place. New Jerseyans and New Yorkers are tired of being treated like second-class citizens. New York deserves better than the selfishness we saw on display last night. New Jersey deserves better than the duplicity we saw on display last night. America deserves better than just another example of a government that has forgotten who they are there to serve and why. 66 days and counting. Shame on you. Shame on Congress. Despite my anger and disappointment, my hope is that the good people in Congress, and there are good people in Congress, will prevail upon their colleagues to finally put aside the politics and help our people now. That's the only hope we have left, is for the good people to prevail upon the others. One thing I can assure the people of this region is this: Governor Cuomo and I will not stop fighting together to see that justice is done and that our citizens' suffering is finally addressed by this Congress. Questions? Matt.
Is it your understanding that this has come about because of influence of the Tea Party, or is it just internal strife within the party? And who have you spoken to today to try to get a sense of whether there's any hope left in these next 24 hours?
Well, listen, it's hard for me, Matt, from this distance to speculate about the specifics of what caused this. All I can tell you is this: we were given assurances by everyone, and by we I mean myself and Governor Cuomo, over the weekend that this was going to be done. We got continued assurances as late as last night at 9 o'clock that as soon as the vote on the fiscal cliff was over, that the rule would be discussed for voting today on the aid package. And so it's hard for me to tell. All I can tell you is this was the Speaker's decision, his alone. And I can tell you that our representatives down in Congress, on both sides of the aisle, in both New York and New Jersey, were working with unrivaled bipartisanship together. As to who I've spoken to today, the President called me earlier today to assure me of his continued support, and that this was going to continue to be a priority for the administration. I spoke to Majority Leader Cantor earlier today. I have to tell you that I think that Eric was working as hard as he could to get this done for us throughout the weekend and the early part of this week. And I had a conversation with the Speaker this morning where he informed me he would be meeting this afternoon with members of the New Jersey and New York delegation from the Republican Party. So as to what's gone on, I think you've seen a lot of palace intrigue down there, and I think that unfortunately folks are putting politics ahead of their responsibilities. And listen, I understand it's challenging as a politician to stop playing politics, but we have jobs to do. And I've been confronted with this situation a number of times in the time I've been governor. You do the right thing.